Hello, hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this session. I am Anish Gupta, the founder of National Law Training Institute, and currently in my final year at the National Law School of India, University, Bangalore. So today we have a very special guest among us, Ananya, who got an All India rank of 3 in CLAT 2025. What is NLTI? NLTI is a platform where we connect people like you, CLAT aspirants, with people like Ananya, who have been CLAT toppers and are now studying in the Dream Law School. We provide honest quality mentorship at affordable prices, and it's been already 3 years that we have been doing this and produced exemplary results year after year. So what will happen in today's session? The floor is all yours. You are free to ask anything to Ananya in the comment section. I also have a set of questions prepared beforehand that you guys shared with me in the Google Doc. So we'll begin. Ananya, tell us a bit about yourself. Where do you come from? Which stream did you take in 11th and 12th? When did you start preparing for CLAT, and why did you start preparing for CLAT?
Hi everyone, I am Ananya Tamaskar from Raipur, Chhattisgarh, currently a first year at the National Law School of India University. Uh, I wasn't very confused about giving the CLAT like a lot of people because I'd already had precedents in my household and from seniors who went for law. So I started in 11th grade around April 2023 itself, and I took up humanities, not with maths, and
Hmm.
not because it was an option I didn't have, but probably because maths is like for a lot of people a weak point. But I think we'll address that later in the meet.
Yeah. So Ananya, who are in your family are lawyers? Like you said, there were precedents already in your family.
Right, my elder brother is a fifth year in Hidayatullah National Law University, so I had a rough
Okay.
idea of what I'd be dealing with,
Hmm.
which is a lot of unexpected stuff. So
Right. Ananya, so right now, a lot of people watching this video might also be in their 11th class, and now they are confused how much time should they devote in their 11th class and how seriously should they take their CLAT prep. And since you started preparing for CLAT very early, what are your thoughts on this? कि कब actually में serious होना चाहिए CLAT के लिए, and if 11th is the right class to get super serious about CLAT?
the moment you get your hand on resources, honestly, do not kill your social life, do not kill your life. Get touch grass from time to time, of course. No, like actually touch
Hmm.
grass daily because that's actually part of the preparation, and I'll tell you later why. But like it's CLAT is a bit like UPSC in the sense that you don't really know what to expect until the day of the examination itself. So the main overarching point or uh, point of preparation is to acquaint yourself to as many situations as possible. So uh, yeah, you pick up previous year question papers, you solve topic tests, sectional tests. Make sure
Hmm.
the general like array of subjects is dealt with, and then you can probably move on to a more concrete approach to how you want to solve the paper. So 11th grade is extremely important for experimentation, and that is exactly how you are going to get through the examination, because like a million people have said this, I have said this a million times. So like the only thing you can expect in the CLAT or in the AILET for that matter is the unexpected. So
Hmm.
start from 11th grade itself. It's not Joe over, as they say, if you haven't done it too seriously yet. But like get started if you haven't already. Seriously.
Right. Ananya, so did you give CLAT in your 11th also? Like a lot of people give dummy attempt while they are in their 11th class. So were you one of them?
Yeah, I did give it in my 11th grade because I wanted to familiarize with myself with the environment and just dealing with invigilator nonsense and formalities in
Hmm.
general, because that is a major part in competitive examinations. believe it or not. Uh, but I think I got a fairly okay-ish score. It was like around 94, 96. But
Right.
the point of actually doing it in your 11th grade is again to familiarize yourself. So don't worry too much about your rank or score if it's just a practice attempt. Know where you went wrong and improve on it later. Is all.
Got it. So, Nana, what we'll do now is we'll focus on specific subjects that people have sent in their questions for. Like, we'll take up one particular subject and we'll talk about it and then move on to other subjects. So, the most contentious topic right now is GK and current affairs. So, we'll begin with that and take up English and other things later. So, Ananya, what do you think in the last 3 months now? Only like September, October, November are left. So, what should the ideal GK strategy look like? And tell from a perspective of a student who has the GK backlog right now. पहले 6-7 महीने का GK backlog भी pending है. They have to cover August month also, that is currently ongoing, and now they have to look forward to the next 3 months also that are yet to come, September, October, November. So if you were an aspirant right now for CLAT 2026, what all are the things that you will follow for the GK and current affairs section?
Last minute GK preparation is a lot like diving into a rabbit hole, like we do sometimes with interesting topics, and especially because Trump exists, so you kind of have a lot of information to deal with if you haven't covered the entire gauntlet already. So, but look at it this way: if I was just a general person who's trying to familiarize with myself with a new topic or subject I found. I'd first read about what's currently happening, then I'd slowly start backtracking, right? And sometimes a good way to do that because uh, if if I'm learning about current developments, I'd also need to know about the context for what's going to happen in the future because a lot of times those developments are based on historical precedents and wrongs or whatever, especially when it comes to geopolitics or judicial decisions. You need to sort of start going back slowly, cover the major points at the very least, and just so you have a respectable amount of information on that topic, right? And After that, what happens is with GK, because everything is interconnected. Because sorry, I'll spout a bit of sociology jargon. Everything is a social construct, so you can't remove topics from each other, right? Uh, so if you're covering subjects which at first glance seem separate, trust me, there is a way to connect those, right? So in the end, you're basically reading a whole story, and the world that builds that story has a lot of elements that are interconnected. So if you're a major gaming nerd, and if you are the kind that knows how to keep Warhammer 40K information absolutely archived in some sort of separate section, it would be easy for you. But if you want to make your life easier, don't see it as padhai likhai. Just see it as like improving your the general overview view you have of the world and the developments, which is just as important as let's say preparing for the competitive examination.
Ananya, I'm sorry to say, but I think studying sociology at NLS has made you very, like to put it in easiest of terms, very faffy. Uh, these students have not yet studied sociology yet, and let's touch grass and tell them in CLAT aspirant terms how should their GK and CLAT current affairs strategy look like for the next 3 months, and if they have backlog, how should they go about studying that? What are the sources they should refer to? How should they make notes? If they should follow newspaper, which all are the sections that are relevant for newspaper? Let's talk in these
Right.
3-4 terms.
Fair. Okay, so keep following the newspaper at least until November because there's no clear demarcation of when the question paper is actually finished preparation. But a safe scale should be it's finished around the end of October or beginning of November. At that point, you can if you still have a poor grasp on reading, keep reading the newspaper. But if you're good with language and you don't have any particular trouble in those areas, don't read the newspaper, because otherwise you'd have an additional overload of information apart from what you've already studied, right? uh, Keep going back to your notes, like when you cover a certain topic and you're making notes, uh, revise it the next day, take a 2 day gap, revise it again, then take a week's gap, revise it again. What you can also do it is anticipate what type of questions might be asked with regards to that topic, and like ask anyone you're familiar with or anyone who would be able to take up the task to quiz you on stuff like that, right? Other than that, if you're absolutely cooked, chopped or baked, uh, go to the Wikipedia page. It's dubious because of the sources, but there's a citation link usually there, and
Hmm.
just click on those and read articles where that information is sourced from. Wikipedia usually gives a summarized history or chronology of what events have transpired. You can refer to those. I'm not very familiar with the resources NLTI offers, but I'm guessing there are videos available on websites and YouTube and such for those particular topics. So if you need someone to tell you about it and you're not the kind that does your own research and preparation, you can go to those and take the major pointers that are necessary to cover that information. Other than that, yes, the most important point is to like acclimatize yourself to the pattern and the way that you have to employ the information you're studying in the examination. So, especially for GK, do a lot of topic and sectional tests in a format that is similar to what you get in the CLAT. Practice a lot,
Uh,
basically.
Ananya, so what sources did you refer to? Did you refer to any compendiums or you relied on Wikipedia and newspaper?
Sometimes compendiums, because again it was a good compilation of information, but just to it can be inaccurate at times. So I also referred to a lot of alternate sources, like say Drishti IIS or Wikipedia pages. Yes, definitely. And a good way is to refer to sources which are from the region or locality where the events are actually transpiring. So, if say you are covering a topic which is set in the US, there are YouTube channels by US content creators that do cover that topic, and so you'd have like a better overview of the whole situation, and from a point of view of a person who's actually living there and seeing those things happen. But again, if you don't have enough time for that, India, Zimbabwe, like yeah, you have enough sources for that as well.
So Ananya, what about revision? Like now they have, let's say they have made their notes, they have all the
Right.
resources at hand, but now they don't remember anything, whatever they have studied. So how should they go about revising the stuff that they already have probably read once?
Well, if they don't remember anything at all, uh,
Hmm.
do like I think a good way would be starting to skim from the beginning and covering basic definitions and subjects that are relevant to that topic. So let's say for uh, geopolitics, you have to know what a treaty is and what the UN is and things like that. So you start from there, then you look up the notes on what history the country has with the topic at hand. So if it's like US Russia relations, it kind of the major topics at least start from like the end of World War II. You have the Cold War, then it moves on to the dissolution of the USSR, and then there current relations, which, like honestly speaking, are far more heavier and saturated than what you have to cover with regards to history. But I'd say take a focus on what's been happening in the past 5 to like the 5 years and the previous months. because in the end, that's what's most relevant for current affairs. And the whole history aspect is just to make sure you don't fall out of touch with the whole subject. Because if you don't know the context, you would not know how to apply that information when the question is framed in a way that covers both history and current affairs.
Right. Okay, Ananya, I think we'll move on to the next section now. And a lot of people have asked about how should they improve their reading speed. I know it's a bit too late to now start working on the reading speed and comprehension abilities. But let's say if still someone is struggling to complete their paper in 120 minutes, what is your one piece of advice? How can they improve their reading speed right now?
Let's say chunking. Of course, that is also a skill that's developed if you're a regular reader. But what happens is that we've all seen that meme, right, where certain words are misspelled, and your brain still ends up making a coherent sentence because it's making certain connections. So what your
Right.
brain does is it takes certain information, it applies, let's say, contextual information to that and completes the whole section in a way that makes sense. So that's generally what happens in chunking. So you're taking larger parts of text. You're not exactly skimming, but you are glazing over those in a way that covers them well enough for the questions at hand. So you take large portions of the text, you read them, you end up reading them within like let's say 1 or 2 minutes ideally, or let's 3 4 5 minutes if it's a heavy, very heavy and difficult text. And yeah, that's about it. And the way to practice that is when you're, let's say, reading books or newspapers, you read that text, close it for a bit, and try to remember exactly what it was telling you. Then you go back to it, see whether it matches your perception of what it was telling you, and reread it if that wasn't the case. So it's really a it's a skill you develop over time, but because we don't have that at the moment, I'd say the best way to go about it is like start from one practice a few one liners, then move on to passages, solve those, and apply whatever you learn from that in your mocks. Like because there's only 3 months left, honestly, that is the only way I see to go about it, because I already had a background in reading. So.
Okay. So, Nanya, there are a lot of students who have said that they really don't need any academic guidance right now, but all they need is help with respect to maintaining uh, consistency, staying calm during the prep, and avoiding procrastination. So, how did you manage all this during your CLAT prep, and what are your suggestions on how they can avoid procrastinating, staying consistent, and maintaining like their saneness during the prep?
You and I don't think anyone really manages to stay completely sane after giving the CLAT, but like for at least conventional sanity, I'd say don't look at it as something you're compelled to do or pressured to do because you want a good place in society, or because you have peers that are doing better than you, so oh, I have to do really well. Do it for yourself, right? And I'm not saying that it's not the end of the world because you can, stop studying. On the contrary, it's not the end of the world because you also have alternate avenues. Again, that also results in a certain kind of complacency because you know that there are other options for clearing it. But just to prove a point, just to prove to yourself that your hard work wasn't for nothing, know that all you need to do on the day of the examination is apply the information you've accumulated over the past whatever months or weeks or years of prep. All right. And really, how I went into it was I was really kind of sick and fed up because of all my mentors and teachers telling me that I have to do things a certain way. So I took it as an opportunity to prove my point and hopefully boost my self-esteem along the way because of the way it was gone problematic. I did have problems with consistency because I didn't revise, right? So revision is the most important aspect in consistency. So if for any subject, when you're practicing, after you've spent enough time covering a new topic, devote, let's say, at least 30 minutes or for 30, 45 minutes to a topic you've covered already, just so you're in touch with that. Mm, yeah, and yeah, I think that's all from my end.
Right. Ananya, do you remember how much you were scoring in mocks at this point last year?
Right. I was ranging somewhere around the 80s mostly. Sometimes it dipped to 70s, which really did mess up morale. But
Hmm.
in the end, what you need to do is remember where you went wrong and make sure you don't make that mistake in the end. I think the very last mock score I got before the CLAT was like somewhere 80 plus or 90 plus. So yeah, I saw the CLAT as a way to I saw the CLAT as a mock and a way to
Hmm.
like improve my track record for it.
Uh, so Ananya, a lot of people right now are scoring in the similar range, 70s, late 70s and early 80s, and they are feeling that their scores have stagnated after a while now, like they are not improving. So, what did you do at your in your time to like cross this phase of mock score stagnancy and ultimately get that ultimate push to reach in, let's say, late 80s or early 90s?
So what happens in mocks a lot of times is that you're sticking to logic which a coaching center has decided, right? Because there'll be a specific individual or set of individuals to formulate those questions. And
Hmm.
the way it works is that ultimately you have to answer in a way that appeals to the questioner, right? And the consortium is the one questioning you. So I went back to previous year question papers. I saw questions and like passages which were framed in a similar way, and I just decided to keep applying that logic whenever I gave marks. Whether it made my scores dip or made them rise varied from time to time because again, coaching centers you can't really predict it.
Yeah.
But in the end, it helped me make a habit of applying a sort of rationale that appealed more to the uh, big boy of competitive examinations rather than just the coaching centers.
Hmm.
Other than that, yes, it also happens because of burnout and because you're not really addressing the problem which is leading to you making the same mistakes again and again. So you uh, need to touch grass from time to time again. Go out, exercise, clear your mind, and come back to it with a fresh perspective. Or what some people do is discuss the questions with other people that got it right. So just so they know the logic that made it happen properly.
Right. Ananya, so if you remember, how many mocks did you appear for in total, and how many mocks out of the total mocks did you give in the last 3 months? If that is something you
Uh,
remember.
yeah, I mean, I think the majority of mocks I gave were in like August or September because at some point I was doing 5 mocks a week. Don't do that. I'd say optimally do like 2 or 3 mocks max because you need to analyze for one, and you also need to cover other topics and new subjects. And if you just keep doing mocks, you'd be it's like uh, making yourself pick up the same hammer again and again, a very heavy hammer which you can't lift. without even practicing to lift it, right? You need to like prepare yourself in a way that you are able to lift the hammer, so to speak. I think in the end, I probably gave about more than 100 or 120 marks. Uh, but for most people, I think they're good to go around 100. And yeah, don't attempt mocks in the last week before the actual examination happens. Until that at that point, the threshold of 2-3 mocks should do the trick, I believe.
Right. So Nanya, we'll move on to the next section. Now we'll talk about the critical reasoning section, which people consider the most draconian one for some reason. So did you also fear CR, or if not, why did you not? And what was your strategy for the CR section? Like, tell us about whether you covered the theory bit of CR, or did you primarily focus on practice? And if practice, how did you go about practice? What were your sources? And ultimately, like, how much were you able to score in CR and become confident?
Yes, I think uh, CR is considered draconian because it messes up your morale and the way you see the whole paper in general, because a lot of times it is very removed from the other reading sections. But covering the theory bit of CR is important, especially if you have enough time. Because if you don't know what an assumption is, or what an inference is, what deduction is,
Hmm.
you won't know how to do it when you're faced with the questions that tells you to do it.
Yeah.
Just get a general idea of what that is, uh, and then move on to, again, always start with one-liners, so that once you're familiar with the micro bit, you know how to apply it in different situations. You can do it when faced with multiple facets. So you have to make assumptions, conclusions, inferences. Practice one-liners, then move on to sectionals is what I'd advise. But my score still did vary quite a bit. It either went very well or it went very poorly. And both of those times, I did make sure to like analyze what exactly I did, so that again, keep doing what you're doing right. Fix what is broke.
Hmm. Right. So to summarize, what Nanya has suggested is that you should, in the initial phase, you should focus more on the one-liners, like the LSAT pattern, which tests you on one-liners. Like, if given a statement, what is the assumption or what is the inference out of it? And once you are aware of the micro topics, then you can move on to passage-based questions, because then you will find them more easy. But Ananya, so were there any specific types of passages that troubled you, like economics, philosophy, psychology, non-fiction? Because a lot of people get some issues when it comes to economics or psychology or philosophy, for that matter. If were you
It
one of
was
them, and if
always, yeah.
yes, so how did you work on that?
It was always economics, always.
Hmm.
And the way I went about it was, I think I decided to go back to my bases, uh, cover basic topics again, and if the source of the passage which is troubling you is listed in the question paper itself, look it up on the internet. You can either look for a critique or analysis of it somewhere, or we have here, you can ask for a summary of it, and compare a critical analysis of it, of yours, with what the algorithm has given you, so just so you have different perspectives on what constitutes what. So if the question, yeah, if the question asks you what the assumption behind saying that uh, let's say making laws on vehicles more stringent
Hmm.
will reduce accidents, is like, compare your own analysis of it with an analysis someone else has made.
Got it. So Okay, you have already talked about the practice sources. I think then we'll move on to legal section. Legal people do not necessarily have a problem with, but what they are having problem is accuracy in legal. I also want to ask you, which specific aspect did you focus on? Were you more attempt centric, that I want to attempt as many questions as possible without like worrying less about accuracy, or were you like, no, I will attempt the questions only in which I am very sure about, and thereby focusing more on the accuracy bit? So, firstly, tell us this accuracy versus attempt, and then we will move on to the strategy for legal section.
When I was doing mocks, I always went for a full attempt because, for one, I know I've already attempted that question and what reasoning applied when I was attempting that, which is
Hmm.
you can't always do very accurately when you're analyzing the paper, because you aren't doing it in a setting where you're under pressure of the time limit. So
Hmm.
I tried to make it a point to always attempt all 120 questions, even if it did mess up my score, because I wanted to do a proper analysis comparing my own perception with what the perception the question paper as a setter had. Uh, Now, what helped me with legal reasoning was that a lot of times the reasoning behind the answers in the questions is based on major judgments that have already been made. You'd be covering those
Hmm.
already if you're reading about landmark judgments that go on to shape later developments. But going back to those and seeing how the court reasoned out their whole uh, rationale did help me in a certain manner applying it to different situations, because you already have a precedent for it. Also, in this situation, I have to do this. You already know that, and you apply that in the specific question you have.
So, for this, do you recommend reading up like bar and bench live law and being up to date with CLK, current legal knowledge?
Yes, definitely. But again, it's the same as newspapers and GK. You can stop doing
Hmm.
that around like a month before the examination.
Okay. And then you also mentioned, you talked about mock analyzing. So a lot of people have problems with mock analyzing also, and still like 3 months are left for CLAT, and they still don't know what is an ideal way to analyze mocks. So could you shed some light on the strategy that you followed for analyzing mocks?
It's actually fairly simple. You just start with calculating your score. Let's say make a table of the different sections. So it's English, GK, legal, logical, and QT. Make different sections, make columns. How many questions you attempted, how many you got wrong, and in the end, what score you got. Add those up, you get your score for the mock. Then I'd say start with what you messed up the most, right? Because the more far removed and surprisingly wrong questions would be in the sections that you got mostly right, right?
Hmm.
You start with the questions you got wrong. Look at the reasoning the question the answer key gives you, compare it with how you reasoned it, and if you see their analysis of it as problematic, refer to a third source or an algorithm, and make sure you apply it later on. So in this examination, you do not have an ego. The question paper is god, the correct answer is god. So if the question paper says 2 plus 2 equals 5, 2 plus 2 equals 5. Don't stress it. Just keep it
Hmm.
in your mind, and you can address the nitty gritties and nuances later on in college, where you actually have a voice and say in what happens. So, question paper is good.
Right. Uh, Ananya, so did you have you already talked about your strategy for legal?
Yeah, actually, I always started with legal reasoning, because I think the way
Okay.
it works is that, for one, we had legal reasoning took up a very major portion of the question paper itself. 32
Hmm.
questions. And the way it works is that if you have the same marks as another aspirant, if you perform better in legal reasoning, you get a better rank. So it's always good if you devote however many resources, mental, you
Hmm.
can to legal reasoning, and you can overshoot it slightly. Like if there's let's say 32, 35 questions, you can go to till 45 minutes of your time, and then you can
Hmm.
make up for it in the sections you can rush to. Let's say like QT or GK.
Right. So, Harshit, two quick questions. Firstly, how many mocks should an aspirant give at this stage in a week? And also, how many hours should they put in for study every day? If and also, since you were a CLAT student with school student, how did you manage your time in college, in school, and CLAT prep?
Let's see. So, yeah, do follow the 2-3 mocks pattern. So, 2-3 mocks per week, proper analysis, and you keep revising and covering new subjects which are necessary. About balancing school and CLAT, the way it worked was that because I was the head boy in my school, I had to involve myself a lot with council activities and such. Sometimes I
Hmm.
had to give mocks at my center in my school uniform, rushing from school back to there. But it was a bit of a passive learning process, I'd say, because I had to manage people. I was dealing with differing perspectives, which in the end is what you have to do in the CLAT. So, in a way, I used to apply my daily life experiences to what I was already doing, preparing for CLAT. For a lot of, let's say, some people, it's not really possible to do that. They have a demarcation between their school life and CLAT life. So for that, I'd say keep up a decent record of attendance. At least attend 5 days a week until November, wherein you can, let's say,
Hmm.
write an application to whatever the academic department is, for an exemption for attendance, for focused preparation. And at that stage, the ideal amount would be 8 hours a day. Currently, because you have to juggle between a lot of aspects, I'd say, like, practically for a lot of people it's only possible to put 5 or 6 hours in. So whatever
Hmm.
amount of time you're putting in, make sure you're making the best of those, and then when you come to November, you can do a more intensive preparation.
All right. So Nanya, we'll move on to QT now. QT, maybe a lot of people have issues. And do you think you are good at maths, because you already said in your initial introduction that you are not good at maths. So CLAT में कैसे change हुआ? Like, did you, because CLAT doesn't test you on very advanced level of mathematics. It's only like percentages, ratio, average, like basic concepts. So how was your preparation for QT section of CLAT, and were you confident? And what is an ideal strategy that you recommend for CLAT 26 aspirants?
A thing about my relationship with maths, I cannot get a question right unless I've gotten it wrong like 15 times. So for me, it was mostly practicing as much as I can. I made it a point
Hmm.
to always practice at least 3 caselets a day, or at least practice
Okay.
15 questions, so I don't go out of touch with topics. Now, for the very basics, that's ratio, proportions, percentages, and Venn diagrams, right?
Hmm.
And those are like elementary arithmetic topics you can cover with enough practice. So do not ever skip out on QT, and make it a point to do those 15 questions or 3 caselets, even if you're extending above the time limit you've set for the day for QT, because you
Hmm.
do need to, like, ensure you're getting enough practice in.
Okay. Ananya, is there anything that you wish you'd have done differently in your CLAT prep?
Uh, mm, for one, covering basic topics well enough, revising those frequently, And
Hmm.
doing mixtures and allegations, particularly in math, it would have made my life a lot easier in the type of questions that came later, because I had to like calculate weightages for different substances, like oh, this percentage of milk and water and this amount of
Hmm.
money later on, and that took up a lot of time. So for at least cover your basics so well, you can do it half asleep at the very least, and
Hmm.
later on like move on to broader topics, and do try not to fixate on a certain pattern you've envisioned for the CLAT examination, because that will mess you up when you have to face something unexpected. A lot of people I know never ever touched analytical reasoning because they thought it was an AILET
Hmm.
specific topic, and in the end we did get a caselet that was very erroneous, but
Yeah.
since that now there is a precedent for analytical reasoning in CLAT, uh,
Hmm.
like stay vigilant, and at least uh, practice once per week topics that do not frequently appear in CLAT.
Hmm. Ananya, did you appear for AILET also?
Yes, I did, but I got a better score in 11th grade than I got in 12th grade.
Okay. What was your rank in AILET?
In 11th grade, it was rank 8, and in 12th grade, it was 217. So again, it's
Hmm.
there's no way to predict what's going to happen.
But maybe is that because you had already gotten your CLAT rank before AILET and now you
Oh
got
yes,
complacent up to NLS
yeah,
हो गया.
yeah, partially. I didn't get enough sleep before the examination itself because I was too excited after the rank announcement. So that
Hmm.
did
Hmm.
kind of end up messing up my ALET attempt.
Okay, but again, since they have appeared for AILET twice, what do you think is the major difference between both the exams, and how should one model their preparation that it covers both the exams like CLAT and AILET?
For one, ALET is more based on applying let's say broader aspects of reasoning. So if you look at it, AILET did not really have specific demarcations and sections in
Hmm.
AILET 2023 and 22, I believe. What it was that in under the English section you had logical reasoning, English, and you know lo- English, and you had a separate section for GK. You did not have
Hmm.
QT. This year, I think we did get a bit of quantitative techniques. Practicing one-liners is how you start with certain topics, because for CLAT, you
Hmm.
familiarize yourself with those topics, then you move on to sectionals. Now, if you're practicing one-liners, that's going to be good for ALET
Yeah.
because it's mostly one-liners and less of like large passages and such.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, Again, so Ananya, what is the correct time that people can stop reading up on GK? Like, can they stop a couple of weeks before the exam, or should they continue reading up till the exam?
Reading up till the exam, I'd say that's only feasible if you're interested in the subjects and it's not going to
Hmm.
mess up what you're already learning about the subject.
Hmm. Hmm.
But for most people, I'd say stop a month or so, or like 3 weeks before the actual examination. So you're revising what you've already covered well enough.
Got it. So Ananya, be honest, do you think 3 months are enough for cracking CLAT? Like if someone is not just starting out, but is in the middle ranges, like around 60, 70. So, 70 is also a bit advanced right now. But let's say they are in the 60s, late 60s or early 60s. Are 3 months enough for cracking CLAT? And if yes, how dedicated they need to be to crack CLAT in the next 3 months?
If you're among the exceptions, then yes, 3 months is way more than enough to crack CLAT. Because I personally know someone from my batch that only started preparation 3 weeks before the CLAT and got like AIR 70. And that
Okay.
guy had been scoring like 50s and 60s in his mocks. But what stood out to me, what was his dedication to preparation, even though he started late. That
Hmm.
guy, he attempted 3 mocks daily, and he analyzed each and every one of them. Of course, he still took
Hmm.
breaks to like read up on subjects he was interested
Yeah.
in. He read books and etc. etc. But you need to be extremely disciplined at this point of time if you aren't already doing well to ensure you can actually perform well in the actual examination.
Hmm.
So focus, really put in the work.
Yeah. Pansuli has asked the question, what was your score in these months? I think this has already been answered. Ananya was scoring around 70s, sometimes 80s, and sometimes cross 90s, but usually it was in the late 70s. Um, so someone has asked again about GK sources. So Ananya, if in one line you could summarize the GK sources that one should refer to in the next 3 months.
uh, so coaching resources, Wikipedia, newspapers, and UPSC sources like Drishti, IS, etc.
How did you make notes? Did you make handwritten notes or did you make online notes? And agar you made notes, how in depth your notes were?
A bit of both. For handwritten, so I went into more depth than what was being covered than what the teacher was covering, because
Hmm.
I go very context heavy, and if I don't know what resulted in this specific event,
Hmm.
I get extremely confused and find it difficult to apply it. So I when I made handwritten notes, I did it in a chronological fashion always.
Hmm.
I took up a certain decade, then what major events happened throughout that decade, and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. Hmm. And you really need to revise those if you're going into depth, because there's no point putting in that work if you aren't like actually reading it, which is a mistake I made. I should have read those. So.
Okay. Um, Let me look at the questions in the chat. People, if you have questions, please drop them in the comment section. Okay, so there's one question. Did you make your GK notes topic wise or month wise?
It was always topic wise, because again, if if you're not the kind that is able to connect every topic in a certain web of information,
Hmm.
it's good that you segregate it into topics so you aren't confused about what the hell's going on. So if you do it month wise, uh, you need to be able to see it in a fashion that can connect certain events, and you need to find a commonality in what's going on around the world and in your country.
Hmm.
If you do it topic wise, however, you know how to tackle questions when they're presented to you in a fashion that is very particular to what information is being given.
Ananya, so we already know that you attempted legal as your first section, but can you shed some more light on the complete sequence of attempting the paper and any particular reason behind attempting that in that particular sequence?
For the new for the people that just joined, I did legal first because it was a rank decider. If you get the same score as somebody else and you perform better in legal reasoning, you get a better rank and better chances of a good NLU. And and so for that reason as well, I found it appropriate to overshoot just a little bit, so I could maximize both attempts
Hmm.
and accuracy in that section. Next, I went to quantitative techniques for one, because I could clear it like swiftly enough within 10 to 15 minutes. Ideally, it should be like 10 minutes,
Hmm.
because it is the only section where you have concrete answers. You cannot argue that 2 plus 2 equals 5, because it is an established fact that
Hmm.
2 plus 2 equals 4. And after that, what usually people do is attempt a reading section and then GK and another reading section. But
Hmm.
because reading is a comfortable uh, exercise for me, I used to do GK first, complete it within like 5 to 10 minutes just to make up for the time I wasted in legal and QT. And I went
Hmm.
on to English and logical because I could attempt those in a flow.
Okay. Fair enough. Uh, Ananya, again, people are concerned about legal section that scores are fluctuating a lot. Sometimes they score, let's say, a great score in legal that ultimately pushes their mock score in 70s and early 80s, but then the next mock they fall into 60s and sometimes 50s. So, if you are dealing with mock fluctuation, score fluctuation, what is the best way to go about it?
What I did was I went back to judgments that concerned the topic I wasn't doing well in, like landmark judgments, which
Hmm.
cover major topics. So, if for example you've messed up a section which involves free consent, you go to a case law, a landmark case that covers the topic of free consent and see what reasoning was applied behind that particular judgment. So later on, you can apply that same logic to questions that you get in the examination because they tend to reflect what has already been established, and it's a basic
Hmm.
overview of the concepts.
Ananya, since you've given CLAT twice now, you must have a fair idea of which months are more important for GK. So, do you have any analysis of this sort that these are the months that you should specifically focus on? Since you have a time, if you have a time crunch, do these months over the other months so that you are a bit more prepared for the GK section.
I'd say this year way too much was happening in the summers because for one, elections in the US had just finished and such.
Hmm.
Generally, you should focus around months that wherein for one summits are happening in the months that immediately follow or precede elections in different countries.
Hmm.
And the months where you're seeing, let's say, judgments from the Supreme Court. Because from that, a lot of dialogue arises from political leaders, debates in parliaments, and other decisions happen. And also look at the time periods wherein a lot of controversy has occurred. So, like this time around, it was in December 2024,
Hmm.
where like more than half the parliament got suspended. So, take a look at those fairly well and the laws surrounding them and the history of what's been happening and such. Because that concerns major areas.
Understandable. So, Nanya, two questions on the mock score again. So, firstly, people are saying, what is an ideal score again? Just want to hear from you. What is an ideal score if someone is preparing since the start of this year? So, how much should they target right now? One thing that I want you to talk about is whether these scores are that much relevant for CLAT. Like, it doesn't matter if you're scoring 80s right now, doesn't mean that you will ultimately end up scoring only 80 in CLAT also. So, how should we take the mock scores right now? And secondly, if there is a difficult mock and then we end up scoring less, how should we deal with such a situation?
Oh, okay. So always take mock scores with a grain of salt. Again, a very, very ideal, like a sunshine and rainbows overview of what an ideal CLAT score would be: a full score. A full score because that is the ultimate threshold, and if you're getting a full score, there's nothing that can mess you up in the actual examination. At least per my view. An ideal score practically would be like above 95 or near the range of the hundreds, because at that point you're familiar enough with topics and you can, I'd say, you have enough well enough conception of how to deal with anything that's thrown at you. Secondly, dealing with
Ananya, sorry to interrupt, but an ideal score right now, like 3 months are still left for CLAT, and if we
right
are
now.
expecting right now, expecting them to score 100 right now, a lot of people will leave this meeting and get demotivated and start crying in a
Fair,
corner. So,
fair.
tell according to what a score should look like in August.
In August, I'd say. 85 plus or in the range of 90s, because you have like 3 months left to work towards the hundreds. Now, when you get to the 80s, late 80s and 90s, it is a highly uphill struggle. So if you were earlier
Hmm.
dealing with an incline of 45 degrees, now it's like 80 degrees. Because getting from 90s to hundreds involves a lot of work and effort, for which intensive preparation in these months would matter. So for now, if you are in, let's say, the 70s, late 70s, focus on getting to 90s. And I personally always aimed for a full score, because you always tend to get a score which is below what you want, or have
Hmm.
an objective of achieving.
And got it. So what else did I ask you? If there's a difficult mock, then how should we deal with
Difficult
that?
mode, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so, and the important point is to note the fact that this is only a practice stage, and ultimately you have to do your best in the actual examination itself. In my experience, my best performances have always been in the actual examination rather than in the stages of preparation. Because for one,
Okay.
right now you have an idea ki, oh, I still have time to prepare, oh, and I can still mess up and do etc etc. I can try this, I can try that. In the actual
Yeah.
examination, there's none of that. You have to, that this is like the one shot, the one opportunity, as Eminem said, you get. So you can't really mess that one up.
Yeah.
But you'd be happy to note that the big daddy in the actual examination is the consortium, and not the scary coaching teacher that's telling you you're doing things wrong. So
Yeah.
ultimately, you have to keep in mind what the consortium expects from you rather than the coaching center.
Right. Uh, Ananya, so probably an 11th grader has asked you, do you think it was useful for you to attempt the CLAT 24 exam?
Very useful, because for one, I got a substantiation of the like advice my teachers and my mentors had given me. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times what happens is that, for example, this year they didn't let us annotate or underline passages in my examination center particularly. So
Okay.
dealing with the whimsies of
Hmm.
the invigilation, and like the examination center itself, like
Yeah.
knowing which center you'll be getting, whether it's a hot or cold environment, whether you're sweating, or whatever the invigilator makes you sign, and how much time that
Hmm.
wastes. Getting familiar with the practical realities of what happens in the examination center is very important if you want to perform your best, because otherwise you'd like have this thought running over and over in your head, oh, this made me mess up, now I can't fix it, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
anticipating what is going to happen is really important.
All right. Ananya, so we are reaching the closing end of this session. So, any final couple of tips for CLAT 2026 aspirants?
Okay, for one,
Like things
try
that
to
are
limit.
indispensable for their CLAT preparation.
Indispensable, right? Definitely. Revision, always keep revising. Do not ever compromise on topics which you feel can be, like, that are disposable. For a lot of people, it's like, oh, QT is only like 12 or 15 marks, or it's not even, I can't even do well in that section. But keep in mind that everyone that gets a score above 100 always attempts QT properly.
Yeah.
Thirdly, I'd say do not stress it too much if you are getting poor scores in mocks. Again, always remember that the point is to not make the same mistakes over and over again, and knowing what you're bad
Hmm.
at. So, because if you know what you're bad at, you can work on it and transform it into something you're good at. Fourth, do not limit your objectives. Keep them as steep as possible, because you'll always be achieving below what you've envisioned or imagined. And if
Yeah.
like you take, do not be too practical. Like I want to aim in the 90s or 100, because you'll be and you'll end up scoring in the 80s or 90s. Fifth, on the day of the actual examination, nothing matters but the paper in front of you. Do not stop attempting it, even if a nuke drops right behind you. Right, the nuke is going to mess up a lot of people's
Yeah.
lives, but if they still consider your CLAT score, it'll be good if you keep focusing on what's right in front of you.
Right. So thank you so much for that, Ananya. I'm sure a lot of people found this session helpful. And thank you so much for taking out time and agreeing to host this session today. So thank you so much, guys, for joining in. And if you have any question that has gone unanswered, please feel free to drop them in the co- in the discussion group on Telegram, where you have the option to speak your mind and tell us what is bothering you. So that's it from this session, and we'll make sure to bring more such sessions going forward in the future for the next 3 months with a lot of other toppers. So thank you, Ananya, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining in.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.